You may say I'm a dreamer. Released in 1971, Imagine by John Lennon is a song about a world united in peace, without boundaries or material possessions. It has become a widely recognized peace anthem, often played during times of conflict or unrest. Quite fitting for the decade of the 70s, when hippies, a counterculture movement, championed values like peace, love, and non-violence. This decade is often remembered for a blend of cultural trends, societal changes, and significant events. The decade is known for its fashion, music, and iconic films, but it also included periods of economic hardship, political scandals, and the rise of the environmental movement. The art of the 70s was more about protest, rebellion, and human emotions. The technology development deeply impacted the contemporary perception of creative works and gave birth to revolutions in contemporary art currents, from pop art to minimalism. Whenever I think of this decade, I think of bright colors and flowers. That's why I decided to paint the house of my cover in that style. The 1970s music scene was diverse and dynamic, encompassing a wide range of genres and sounds. Disco, funk, soul, and rock were particularly prominent, but the decade also saw the rise of punk, new wave, and reggae. Fashion was an eclectic mix of styles, ranging from the bohemian vibes of the early years to the disco-influenced glamour of the later ones. Key trends included bell-bottom pants, tie-dye, maxi dresses, and platform shoes. The decade also saw the rise of leisure suits, punk and glam rock influences, and oversized collars. But let's start with 1970, when a group of 5 brothers emerged from Indiana, quickly becoming successful and popular. Although the Jackson 5's individual careers, particularly Michael Jackson's, eventually overshadowed the group, they remain a landmark pop music act. And speaking of music groups, 1970 was the year when the Beatles broke up because of creative differences, business disputes, and personal conflicts. The break didn't prevent them from releasing their last album, Let It Be. A critical failure at the time, it came to be regarded as one of the most controversial rock albums in history, and retrospective reception has been more positive. Apollo 13 is renowned as a successful failure because it became a symbol of human resilience when a critical oxygen tank explosion threatened the mission. Although they couldn't reach the moon, the astronauts and NASA's ground crew successfully brought them back to Earth alive, demonstrating ingenuity and teamwork under immense pressure. This feat of survival and the drama surrounding it captured the world's attention, making Apollo 13 a memorable and iconic part of space exploration history. It inspired the 1995 movie featuring Tom Hanks, which was nominated for 9 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. After several attempts to cross the Atlantic Ocean by boat, it was in 1970 that Thor Heyerdahl was successful on the vessel Ra II, which was built with Ethiopian papyrus. Although the boat became lost and was the subject of a United Nations search and rescue mission, it finally reached Barbados, thus demonstrating that ancient mariners could have dealt with transatlantic voyages by sailing with the Canary Current. The Ra II is now in the Kon-Tiki Museum in Oslo, Norway. Speaking of famous figures, if you're into American football, you probably know who Vincent Lombardi was. Under his leadership, the Packers won 5 NFL championships in 7 years, including the first 2 Super Bowls. He passed away in September of 1970 and is regarded as the best ever coach in the history of the sport. The trophy awarded to the Super Bowl champions is named the Vince Lombardi Trophy in his honor. Another iconic figure who passed away that year was Jimi Hendrix. His fame stemmed from his revolutionary electric guitar playing, charismatic stage presence, and influential songwriting, which redefined the possibilities of the instrument and significantly impacted rock music and culture. And we'll close 1970 with one of my most favorite movies from Disney, The Aristocats. Back in the day, it was a box office success with its charming characters, unique animation style, and memorable music. To me, the combination of good jazz and a vintage Parisian scenery is one of the best. A little parenthesis here to talk about the technique that I will use. As I was using the Stabilo .88 markers on my cover, I remember that they are water-based, and I decided to change the style that I had been using for my doodles on the previous months, and I'm truly happy that I did. You'll see those highlights come together in a palette inspired by the decade, making them pop from the page in a lovely array of retro hues. Now let's go to 1971, starting with the world of music that saw the release of John Lennon's hit Imagine, Michael Jackson's first solo single, Marvin Gaye's hit single What's Going On, and the passing of a beloved jazz icon, Louis Armstrong. He was considered a foundational figure in the history of the genre, and he's known for his groundbreaking trumpet playing, innovative scat singing, and charismatic stage presence. In the world of entertainment, the first orca to be named Shamu passed away in August of '71 after living for about 6 years as the park's main attraction in San Diego SeaWorld. She was a female orca originally named Namu, but had been accidentally captured in October of '65, igniting the hunt of killer whales to display them in captivity. After her death, the name Shamu was used for other orcas at SeaWorld's different parks. I even remember visiting one of them in the 90s in San Antonio, Texas, and that was when my love for these majestic animals started. It's still my most favorite animal, and little did I know back then, but they are miserable when confined to these small tanks. In contrast, they thrive in the open ocean where no attack to humans has ever been recorded. All incidents have happened within those tanks. Something to think about when deciding to pay those parks a visit. We'll close the year with the opening of the iconic Hard Rock Cafe in London, the grand opening of Walt Disney World with the Windsor family as our first guests, and the founding of Lucasfilm, which would release A New Hope 6 years later, igniting the science fiction blockbuster era, redefining filmmaking, and introducing iconic concepts like the Force and Jedi to popular culture. One last highlight of 1971 with the first successful soft landing on Mars achieved by the Soviet Mars 3 lander. Even when its transmission only lasted 14.5 seconds before failing, it was a notable achievement in the context of the larger space race between the United States and the Soviet Union. It reflected the ongoing competition for space dominance. Let's go to 1972 when a musical titled Grease opened on Broadway. Named after the 1950s United States working class youth subculture known as greasers, it was set at the fictional Rydell High School in Northwest Chicago. It followed 10 teenagers as they navigated the complexities of peer pressure, politics, personal core values, and love. Its success also led to a film adaptation in 1978 featuring John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. Other highlights in the entertainment business were the release of the famous movie The Godfather, David Bowie's groundbreaking album, the founding of Atari Inc., which played a crucial part in shaping the gaming entertainment industry, and the height of the popularity of Polaroid's instant camera. We'll finish with 1973, with the release of Pink Floyd's album The Dark Side of the Moon, and Sacheen Littlefeather, who gained recognition at the Academy Awards when she took the stage to reject Marlon Brando's Best Actor award on his behalf. He boycotted the event to protest Hollywood's portrayal of Native Americans. And speaking of famous persons, Pablo Picasso passed this year at 91, while on the other hand, martial arts icon Bruce Lee passed at only 32 years old. This year, the first mobile phone call was made with a brick-sized device. The famous Twin Towers of the World Trade Center officially opened in Lower Manhattan, and miles above the atmosphere, the first United States space station named Skylab was launched and remained in orbit for almost 5 years. I ended the year with a couple of famous cartoons, the Star Trek animated series, and Super Friends, which was responsible for my first fictional crush ever, Superman. And here's the final flip-through of my May theme, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I will definitely be using this technique on the coming highlights. I will finish this first half of the year with the 60s for June, and then comes the mid-year setup with a 50s-inspired theme which will feature milkshakes, vintage cars, and rock and roll. One of my favorite decades, aesthetically speaking. I really appreciate the comments and you being here. And so as usual, thank you so much for watching.